Hello, everybody. It's Marci from wavesofcommunication.com. The information I provide is designed to equip and empower parents and caregivers to take at least one conscious, focused, positive action today toward helping your child shift from nonverbal communication into unprompted spoken language. There's no time like now to make the necessary changes you need to see the success that you want for the late talker in your life. So let's get started. Everybody, I'm here today on the podcast with Elsa, and Elsa is an international language facilitator. I'm going to have her tell us a little bit more about who she is and her late talker. But the first thing I always want to know is, how did you find me? Where are you, and how did you find me?
Yes, I'm in Canada. I find you on the internet and YouTube and a YouTube video. Then I saw the book. I bought the book and I saw the Facebook group. So I joined the Facebook group and yeah.
Good. That's good, because that's the point. The book is written to guide you to keep learning, right? It's just the beginning to get you started, because we're not stopping on the platform. There's more and more information coming all the time, and the process never stops either. So tell me a little about your child and the evolution so far of their communication.
Yeah, so he's 21 months old, and for now he doesn't speak at all. So his first word was mama at like 6 months. So I was very happy about it. And then papa at 9 months. So I thought he would like speak very fast or something. But then we passed the 12 months and nothing. And then 18 months, nothing. So, and yeah, so then I got a little worried, but I know he understands so much. So we just did the audio test this week. So I know he can hear very clearly, normally, everything's normal. So it's just something else.
Right. Okay, good. Now, all the parents who join me on my podcast, I ask them to complete a survey for me to let me know about the frustrations that they're experiencing. And usually the frustrations that are going on in a family that are surrounding late talking, right? From one thing or another, and the frustrations can be different. And yours is a very common one, especially with young late talkers. So this is a little guy who's not yet 2 years old. However, his mom knows he understands everything, and that's probably because you've been able to teach him some things already, right? That's how you know. Tell me about some of the things that you've been able to teach him, even though he's not talking. What other things does he know how to do that he learned from you and Dad?
Well, I don't know. He always watch us a lot. Everything we do, he's always watching. And many things he's learned, it's from watching, not because we're like teaching him.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Because remember, we're talking about a very young child here. And kids who are under 2 years old just don't have much exposure to the world at all, right? So what they know is what's presented to them. That's all they know. They don't even know that there's anything else out there, right? Because they're new in the world. And so, in your child's world, you mentioned in your survey that he's an only child, and he's been home with you and dad, and you've been during the pandemic, not been able to
Hmm.
go out anywhere, lockdown in Canada, just like everywhere else for a
Yeah.
long period of time. It's only just now, we're recording this in mid-May, and it's only just now that people are starting to peek outside, I think, a little bit. And so it's been a long year, especially for these little kids, because think about the first experiences of your first 2 years, right, are the first exposure to everything. And if, because the first year alone, you're just trying to grow into being a toddler, like your brain is just turning on for that first year. And here's the biggest, most important year of your child's life, and you're stuck at home, right?
Yeah.
So that is probably an issue that contributed to the lack of sort of exposure to the world, because naturally, parents will show things to their kids. If you go out, if you're driving in the rain, you got to go somewhere in the rain and you get wet by mistake, you talk about it. But if you
Hmm.
don't go out at all, there's a much less chance to get stuck in a rainstorm or a snowstorm like happens in Canada. You just say, we're home anyway, we don't have to go out in it, that kind of thing happens. And so those new sort of exposure, interest in exploring the world, they don't really get fed in
Hmm.
that year. They haven't, I think, for a lot of kids, due to the pandemic. And now many parents have replaced those get out and about activities with technology. How much technology does your child use every day?
Um, we control a lot of the screen time, so it's like maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and not every day. But
Okay.
that's for watching a video. But he takes my phone. He likes to like just walk with the phone or and connect the phone with the charger and things like that. But he's not actually watching something.
So interesting, right? Because there's two things that you said that show me, that let me know that he's really ready to learn to talk. However, something happened that he prefers to use his eyes to learn instead of his ears. Now, it's a very common thing that happens with children who are only children, right? Especially if you and your partner, maybe one of you was working and the other one maybe your partner, your husband, was spending time in working, and you had to kind of keep your son busy and things so that he could work in the house, right? Trying to keep him quiet and do the best you can to get those things. Now, what happens, and this is a very interesting thing about only children and ones that spend time with just one-on-one. And so it can happen with moms and it can happen with nannies, right? If both parents have to work and the child spends all the time with a nanny, they get to know each other. Oh, there's my cat in the background. They get to know each other. They get to understand each other's routines and preferences. And especially in a very young child, they still need a lot of help with things, right? So your little guy was just learning how to eat with utensils and walk and all of those things in the past year, and had a lot of focus on those things. And you were the one who taught him everything he learned in the process. When I talk about what has he learned in a year's time or even in a half year's time, he's probably developed a ton. you
Hmm.
know and like you said, how he can understand is because you say things like, come here, and he does,
Hmm.
or go give papa a kiss, and he does, those little things where maybe he's not at this stage hearing and grasping every single word, but he's looking with eagle eyes at everything. And so his little brain is developing, because when you get this combination of a mom or a one-on-one caregiver who just kind of knows everything about the child, then you don't talk so much. You think in your head, okay, it's time for a bath. I need to go run the bath water. And you go and you do it, and you get the pajamas. Okay, I got to get the pajamas. Okay, I've got to get the toys. And then you do all of that in your own head. And then only when it's bath time, you say, okay, come on, it's time for a bath, right? And so if you had other kids in the house, or you were really co-parenting a lot during those times with a partner, you would say, hey, I'm going to give my little guy a bath now. It's time for bath. Will you go get the pajamas? Or I'm going to go run the water. Will you help me do whatever? And you say those things out loud when you're with other people, right? And the child who's, has siblings hears you talking to the siblings. A
Yeah.
child whose parent is talking to the parent, they hear you talking to the parent. But when you're by yourself and you do all that stuff, and then the only time you talk to them is in the tub, and you're like, hey, let's, body parts and sing songs and all that stuff. I mean, that's super fun, and your child loves it, may enjoy this presence of time, and it, like you said, is watching and learning. And what he may be doing is trying to act, like with his nonverbal. If every time you see the mailman, you wave at him, and after 5 or 6 times, now when you see him go by the window, he comes and waves, right? He's learning that this is how it works. This is how life works. And when as a very quiet parent, the child learns that life in our house is quiet.
Yeah, because of the pandemic, we both lost our job. So we were together. He is just like 2 months ago, my husband started a new job. So now I'm alone. So yes, and I don't talk that much. So I make a big effort to help him and narrate things that I'm doing, but it doesn't come naturally.
Yeah, right now. And there is something else that we have to talk about as far as blockages. So there's the one thing. So now we know that right away you're finding, like I'm telling you, this is what kids need. And you're like, maybe I could talk a little bit more. Maybe I can step up my game a little bit more. Because the thing is, you don't even realize, unless you kind of look at it from the outside, how much less you are talking when your husband went to work. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Oh yeah,
And
of course.
when you change, right? And when you change your behavior because your kiddo's got the eagle eyes watching you, he also changes his behavior. And then you also mentioned that, and I don't know if this also coincided with this same time where dad went to work, that you're having a lot of tantrums, right?
Oh yeah. Hmm.
So tell me a little bit. In fact, unconsolable, like you don't even know what to do to calm him down. It gets so bad sometimes. That's
Oh
what you
yeah.
said in your survey. Tell me a little bit about a circumstance when that happens.
It's I have some examples. Sometimes he brings something at the table, like his little bowl with food or something, and if he spills food, then for him is like he just throw everything on the floor for some reason. I don't
Okay. All right.
know.
All right. And so and then when he spills it, he obviously becomes upset. And
Yeah.
then at that point he throws the things, and what has been so far, we're going to be honest here, what has been your reaction when that happens? What do you do when he throws the food?
I say like no food on the floor. I like don't throw the food, and he just become like
It gets
hysterical.
worse.
Yeah, it gets worse. He's
Escalates
on
the
the floor and it's like
right.
screaming and everything.
Okay. So that's kind of what I suspected, and that's why I wanted you to be honest with me, because remember, when I do this analysis with my clients, they send me video of that kind of situation, so I don't have to ask them, what do you do? I watch. I see the child having a fit, and I watch what does the parent do. And almost every time I get a similar response to what you have, because that's not nice behavior. It's not nice. It it feels bad. You've prepared this food, this special food that your child wants, right? And here they are not just refusing it, but refusing it and being aggressive about that refusal. And so that makes you feel defensive. It makes you feel defensive because your response is indicating, I don't like this. I don't want it to happen again. And I want you to change because I am uncomfortable by this behavior. That's what I mean by defensive. You're going to take action to make it stop right now and try to teach so it never happens again, right? Now, that is a defensive reaction happens when your mindset is, like I said, you feel hurt. Okay. Now, what I want you to do in this circumstance and everyone in the future is I want you to flip it around and stop. Before you react, you have to stop and think about, and we can talk about this one right now. Why did he get upset when the food spilled? What do you think? Does he typically not like dirty things? Has he been yelled at before? I mean, there are reasons, right? So what's your guess as far as what makes him so upset when the food spills?
I think he's too like perfectionist. I think it's that's why, because usually if he spills something, I never yell up because he spilled.
Right.
I'll just say, oh, it's okay, we'll clean it, but he goes and throw it. So
It gets big. Okay,
yeah.
so part of this, I think, is it's not so much that he is afraid, unless let me ask you, does he mind having his hands dirty? Does he always want his hands clean? Or will he play with soap or paint or dirty things when he chooses?
Yes, sometimes he
Okay,
likes being clean, and sometimes he doesn't mind and he plays with
doesn't mind.
everything. So
Yeah, if he's getting
yeah,
dirty and then when we're
yeah,
all done, then we clean hands. That's normal,
yeah,
right? Normal
yeah,
response.
yeah.
Okay, and I asked that question because I wanted to see if there's a real sensory feeling, because it's true that some kids, some people do have a real reaction, like an emotional reaction when their hands are dirty, and they've
Mm,
got to clean. And if that's the situation, that's pretty easy to read, right?
oh,
Know
yeah.
what it is. But that's not, because like you said, sometimes and whenever it's only a sometimes situation, what we know is that it's a choice. Okay? If your child can eat but they don't, if they can sleep but they don't, if they can, sit and hold your hand and be calm but they won't, right? That's their choice. So what's happening? It's kind of a combination that's adding up to this perfect recipe for resistance, right? Because what's happening is he's wanting, first of all, from the very beginning, this lack of talking, the change, the fact that dad's not around, so I don't get to play with dad all day. And I liked watching dad play. I liked watching him do his stuff. I liked watching you two together. I liked that. And it changed. And you didn't clue me in. Even though I'm not even 2 years old, I know, right? And so his emotional, that's an emotional blockage. Something big changed. But the good news, Elsa, is that you said he can understand almost everything. So now the job is easy. You just have to talk more and explain everything, but think about it from his perspective. Uh-oh. So as soon as the triggering action happens, because remember, he's a baby and he knows that very early learning is very algorithm like. If then, if I cry, mom will come. If my if my diaper is poopy, mom will smell it if I go stand by her and she will change my diaper. Like they learn if if then, even from very, very young, before their brains even learn how to process details, they learn those if then situations. And so what happened is if then broke. It used to work like if I wake up, then dad's going to play with me all day. But then one day it happened, if I wake up, dad's not available. But nobody told him that the program is changing, that the schedule is changing. And so he's showing you with his behavior, because he doesn't have words, that he's upset by that. And the unfortunate thing is that expression is not very attractive. It looks like throwing toys. It looks like short fuses. It looks like I can't even tolerate the things I used to tolerate. I'm sad and upset by this. I miss dad. I miss him. You probably miss him, especially with this behavior. When dad have this behavior, and that could be, again, another real red flag for you about, wait a minute, what changed to trigger all this, right? He was late talking before, but he was a happy late talker. Now he's late talking and he's not a happy guy, right? Unless somebody else is suffering, it's kind of what they do. And it's because emotionally they are suffering and they want you nothing more than to be the mom and empathize with them. And if you do, when you do, this is the other good news, Elsa, when you say, oh, baby, I know, wow, your food is spilled and you don't like it. You don't like it when it's spilled. It's okay. Let me help you. We'll pick it. It's okay. You don't have to be upset. Let me give you hugs and kisses. We need new food. You give in to the drama because it's 2-year-old drama. You know what I mean? If you fight against it, your super smart 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old, is going to start to train you that doesn't work with me. Listen, I'm upset. You're saying, no, you are not allowed to be upset. I'm going to discipline you. No, don't stop that. And he said, I disagree. I'm upset, so I'm going to take it up a notch because you're not understanding me. And so how you stop it all is you say, oh, I understand you. Oh, phew. Now I don't have to throw myself on the floor or noodle. You said he's got that noodle habit where as soon as you go, because if you try to aggress that, if you try to, he's got his defenses up. If you put on your armor and you break through and you grab him and you pull him out, he'll just noodle out, That's how smart these kids are. He's already problem solving. How can I work around mom's workaround? And the thing is, the trick to solve your problem, Elsa, is don't work around it. Work right straight through the problem. We got a problem. You are sad about food. I am sad because dad's at work. I haven't been able to take a shower for a week. Whatever. Empathize because you guys are a team.
Mhm.
You're all you got, especially when dad's at work, right? You are a team and you want him to be on your team. You don't want to fight with your teammate all day. And that's when your ego, like, I don't want food on the floor. And you're like, if you don't want food on the floor, you got to teach him where food goes. And you got to understand why it got there. It didn't get there because he wants to make a mess. He doesn't like messes. It got
Mm.
there because you didn't, for some reason, you didn't connect with what he's thinking. And that's what I teach in the book about getting in the language facilitation zone, right? Where you're actually thinking about that same thing that he's thinking about because you're looking at the same thing. Like you're looking at the food on the floor and he's got a reaction and you got a reaction. For a minute, you got to think about why is he having a reaction and why are you having a reaction? Because you can always control yourself, right?
Mhm.
You know you can't control him because he'll just noodle on you, you know? But you can show him, right, that you're willing to negotiate. You're willing to negotiate because you are. You are. Of course you are. Just like you said,
Mhm.
you're not upset that he spilled the milk. It was an accident, you know, or the food. It just happened. And, you know, what happens is maybe before when dad was home, he didn't used to get upset by little things. But because they build on each other, he's got this quiet mom who's not talking and he misses that. He misses dad's presence and dad's fun or dad's whatever he brings to the table because you do. You each do. I mean, that's what the great thing about having two parents in a family is. And that's why everybody who's a single parent finds other people to help them share time with their kids because it's not super healthy for a child to spend time with just one person all the time. It's
Mhm.
not. But during the pandemic, when one parent's working, what choice do you have? What choice do you have? But what you've learned, see, that's what's great about this process and why I'm so glad you joined me today, is think about what you've learned from just this couple months of a shift in how much the environment shifting can affect your child's behavior, how much your environment shifting can affect your behavior because you're talking less or you're using different language or whatever, and why it affects your emotion because then when it affects your behavior and you start to see different outcomes. Oh no, I got more behavior than I used to, or I got less talking than I used to, right? Either one of those is not the desired outcome and you see it going nowhere positive, right? That's when people panic and they start prompting their kids to talk and doing. People in my program do it. I just had a meeting today with a client who's doing that. And that's why it's a great idea to follow my platform, stay on those live Q&As, check in with them every week. And if you can't do that on your own or you have somebody with you, then it's time to work with me as a client because the progress does go up and down and up and down. And the littlest environmental thing, change in season, right? You know, that can happen. Or you go on a vacation. That's a positive change that can make everything different. So think about your plan. If you're not working, are you still home?
Still home, yeah.
Perfect. So if you have the opportunity now while you're waiting for work, or even if you're working from home part-time or whatever you're doing, now you have a time to just kind of think about your day and move through your day and do all the things that you're enjoying doing because he still loves to play with you, right?
Yeah.
He's just getting to the age where he has an opinion about how he wants things done. Okay? And no one knows what that way is, slower, faster, mushier, colder, hotter. Nobody knows that better than a mom. And a child who's just coming into eating a variety of foods. He's not even 2 years old. He hasn't even tasted a taco yet, you know? Think about the things in his life he has yet to explore. That's the only job you have, mom. And talk about it all. Talk about it all. Don't withhold it. Don't think that he's not listening because he learned all these things. He learned all these things that he knows. He learned how to follow directions and go give dad a kiss. And he learned how to demonstrate and show you the dances and songs and things that he knows, right? And that's how even little kids younger than 2 years old can get stuck in nonverbal communication. And when they get stuck because the environment changes, you have to rally, you have to reassess. It's kind of like the reset button where you have to see what has changed. Is it something physical? Is my kid healthy? That's usually where everybody goes first, right? Okay, he doesn't have a fever, he doesn't have a stomach ache. Like, what could cause this crazy out of the blue kind of communication where these tantrums are happening? You always look at the physical stuff first, especially with late talkers, because that's what you're doing. And then the next thing, always look at the environment. What has changed? People have come and gone. Places have come and gone. Situations have come and gone. Opportunities have come and gone, right?
Mhm.
Kids miss things. They get used to things, just like you get used to things. Even if they get used to staying home, they get used to being on their phone for some of the kids, right? And now your kid's not even 2, so you're smart to just use it as it's an object for him. He hasn't learned that there's a internet yet, thank goodness, because he's not even 2 years old. You hold off on that as long as you possibly can, because you've had a whole year of inside. Now it's time to get out and explore the world. When the weather's getting nice now in Canada, take advantage of your summer. So how does all that sound as far as advice for you? What do you think, given everything I've said, is going to be the first kind of action plan that you're going to do for yourself?
For sure, I'm gonna change my way when he's in the middle of a tantrum. I'll try to just understand him and talk about what he's feeling at the moment instead of don't do that.
Yeah, I think you'll get a very good response to that. A very good response to that. Okay, and anything else?
Well, I just wanted to say I'm really, really, really happy that I found you on the internet, because I think you're the only one that described my child so well. Because I look at in the internet, I was looking, and no one, they all talk about autism or just late talker in general. But you, in your book, you just describe uh, how he is like controlling, bossy, but super smart. And you're the only one. That's why I'm so happy to talk to you today and learn more about you and your program. So thank you for that.
Well, again, it's my pleasure, and thank you for joining me. Like I said, it's my pleasure to share stories with families and advice to get you started, because this is a super, super common situation. I'm sure that a lot of parents have. It might not be the exact same story, but whenever you look at a change in your environment and you see a change in your behavior, you obviously notice the change in behavior first. But that's when you can go back and do analysis. Now, there are some videos on my YouTube channel about doing that analysis, and that's always a good idea, because the object is not, again, seeing more and more language. What you're really wanting to go for is just him trying to communicate more on his own, what he learns. And the more you share with him with words, in addition to all the things that you demonstrate for him that he's watching, as you sort of give it some narration and give the play-by-play, for what you're doing, he'll start to pick those words up again. And what will start to happen, especially after 2 years old, kids will start to imitate the behaviors and words that they like the most, that the people they say like the most. That's why they sing songs from the internet if they read, listen to rhymes and stuff. And songs are super easy to learn. So you can sing songs with him, Wheels on the Bus and Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes. And that's a super great way to engage him and learn more language and get him saying, hey, mom is interesting. Mom is here, ready to give you information. And then you carry it over to the things that you have to do, not just that you want to do, like getting dressed and changing poopy diapers and getting dry after the rainstorm and all those things that you gotta go through together as you get through the day and solve your problems. That's the language he needs, right? Because someday he's going to have friends and go to school and, all of that kind of stuff. And he's going to want to know how to share with them. I got a problem. This is too hot. This is too cold. It's too runny. You know what I mean? And instead of you just guessing and knowing all that, you talking through his little drama, even 2-year-old drama, just will give him so much language, so much more than looking at books and flashcards and colors and shapes and numbers. You don't even need to do any of that at this stage. You just need to show him, hey, listen. If you look and listen, it gets even better, because now you can say, no, I don't like it, and you don't have to throw yourself on the floor. And that makes everybody happier. It makes everybody happier, because he doesn't like to have that behavior. These kids that when they have this angry feeling behavior that kind of radiates out, they don't mean it. And you don't want to be aggressive with him either. You don't want to yell at him. But, you get triggered, he gets triggered. There are videos on my platform about triggering too. So look, I'm super glad that you found me today. And I'm super glad that you booked on and shared your call. I'm wishing you all the success. Please pop into one of my live Q&As if you can. Let me know how things go with things, because that also will help people. We can say, this family did it. Elsa was able to turn things around and get her behavior going, because I know you can. I absolutely know you can with these strategies, because you have a super smart late talker.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks for joining, everybody.
Thanks for listening in today. Please share this podcast episode with anybody you think can benefit. Free videos on YouTube, a daily blog in my group on Facebook, my book, If It Isn't Fun, It Isn't Fun. Teach Your Child to Talk Faster Than Speech Therapy is available on Amazon and Audible, and my coaching programs. And all the details are on my website at wavesofcommunication.com.